Call of Duty is in a downward spiral like never seen before. A combination of corporate greed, social movement that should stay away from entertainment in general, and weird choices related to the core mechanics of the game have tested the community in the last 8 years. The complete train wreck that Call of Duty now is was inevitable considering the completely out of touch with reality attitude from both Activision and the developers. The best summary of Call of Duty and where the game stands is given by its seeker. He just posted an hilarious clip on the developers and the reality they brought to us.
We're taking players to a new but familiar era, the early 90s.
So just look at it. Wow. Wow. This guy could have not captured the issue between reality and the state of mind of the developers better. One of the biggest issues currently is SBMM. 4 letters that have caused huge controversy and is now at the core of the downfall of one of the biggest franchises in gaming history. But why on earth would skill-based matchmaking, so matchmaking based on skill, be such big of a deal? Isn't online gaming evolving around skill? Well, yes and no. To understand the nature of matchmaking based on skill, we need to dive a bit into the reasoning behind it versus the game itself. There is an undeniable big link between the core of the game, what it's intended for, and how much skill means for a matchmaking process. Let's take a game like Rainbow Six Siege. Right, one of the best first-person shooters in the market, to my opinion. Released in 2015 and still going strong. Although I would appreciate a more deeper discussion and on the reveal in, I think next week, what the successor of R6 is going to look like. Well, it's not a Rainbow Six Siege 2, it's an upgrade of the existing game. But that's beside the topic. Anyway, Rainbow Six Siege is floating on matchmaking based on skill. Heck, it's even based on showing off skill. For example, the charms people run on their guns are often the rank they've achieved somewhere in the recent seasons. On top of that, the rank you carry is probably the first discussion you have when talking to other Siege players. And the more you rank up, the more you feel you need to evolve your gameplay. Compare a copper lobby, for example, with a champion one, and you see the steep skill gap you need to overcome. This means that the core of the game is based on skill, sweatiness, and improving your gameplay to succeed. The whole game is centered around a spawn and die system, even with a one-shot headshot mechanic. This drives the fact to be structured, to work as a team, have a clear strategy, being able to adapt to situations, learn from your mistakes and understand the meta and either use it to your advantage or know how to counter it. By default, your KD means less than being able to serve as a team player and the will you have to learn in general. When you die, your job does not end there, and communication lie at the forefront of success in Rainbow Six. Skill is not running around mindlessly and getting kills, but rather a whole palette of criteria that reward patience and strategy. A game like this has perfected the skill-based matchmaking, and it makes sense because the game has built, maintained, and evolved around this whole principle. So we've now established that there can be a strong reason for skill-based matchmaking and the link with the core mechanics of the game. Why does it then causes so much big issues for Call of Duty? 2 reasons in general. The core mechanics of the game is 1, and 2, the intent of the developer to incorporate it. Let's examine the first one. Call of Duty is a run-and-gun, arcade, fast-paced and arcade shooter. It started off as a military World War II single-player game, but quickly added the multiplayer element. Call of Duty started off the mainstream adoption of online shooter gaming and dictated this for years to come. It practically invented the arcade type of online shooters. But although people will always want to show off skill, looking at the 360 no-scopers here, the nature of Call of Duty was and will always be arcade, with small, dense 3-lane maps, overpowered kill streaks that are simply fun to use, and run around, shoot, die, and spawn again mechanic makes it a fun, fast-paced arcade game. The spawn die spawn mechanic on its own already makes it an arcade shooter instead of a sweaty one focused on rank, skill, patience and strategy. In its core, you do not even have to know the maps that well to experience some form of success. Lobbies used to be filled with people from all sorts of ranks, and nobody had issue with it because of the arcade nature. There is zero penalty for leaving a game when you do not like the lobby, and you can start searching for a new one. Ranking up is more related to the time you put in the game than anything else. Every time I see a prestige master on COD, my thoughts are mainly centered around the time he's spending on it. With cheats, a high rank triggers me on the gameplay from this individual and why I may be able to learn from. The higher the rank in the game, the better someone is. This means that the core mechanics of COD are not suitable for matchmaking based on skill, and Siege, for example, is. All because of the core mechanics of the game. Sure, there are people with huge skill on COD, and that's nice to see, but the foundation of the game is arcade by its nature. Now let's examine the intent of the developer to implement a system of matchmaking based on skill. Forbes summarized the response from Activision. In a new blog post, Activision explains why this is important for players of all skill levels. Our data shows that when lower skilled players are consistently on the losing end, they are likely to quit matches in progress or stop playing altogether. This has an effect on the player pool. A smaller player pool, wait times for matches increase, and connections may not be as strong as they should be. This can compound over time to create a spiral effect, eventually when only high-skilled players remain because low-skilled players have quit out of frustration, and the result is an ecosystem that is worse overall for everyone. So the overall tone and messaging can be perceived as positive. Activision trying to protect the player base and making it fair for everyone to enjoy. In essence, nobody could see something wrong with it, or can we? They state that their data shows people are likely to quit, so we have to implement skill-based matchmaking to build a better ecosystem and make sure, therefore, that players are staying. That, in fact, is the whole summary. Because they never really expose what their data is, we can only look at reality, and that's not in line with the intended effect Activision claims to have. The community is in a downward spiral for almost a decade now, discussing the ongoing downfall of the franchise with choices made and growing in implementation with every new installment. A few points I want to make here. 1. The social aspect of the game is removed by breaking up lobbies, making the community more isolated and narrow. Before that, I met a ton of people online, and some of them I still play with today. 2. The overall sentiment of the community got worse with every installment, making the net result of the intent 0. 3. Lobbies are frequently filled with AI to avoid accepting reality that the player base is dropping, meaning people are quitting the game because of the chosen direction. 4. The updates and patches often not reflecting community feedback and give more sense to a developer and publisher out of touch with reality and their community. And 5. People are increasingly trying to find ways around the system, meaning they are in disapproval of the idea. One of the latest examples was 2boxing, for example. The patch to prevent this is a clear signal from and to Activision because they now need artificial strategies to get people to comply. This means that eventually Activision accomplish what they claim to battle. Only skilled people remain and the ecosystem gets worse overall. Furthermore, as can be seen from the post from Charlie Intel, the core pattern of skill-based matchmaking was to drive microtransactions. And here's where it even further gets off the rails. Activision is trying to present Call of Duty as a live service game. Something it is not. These bundles and microtransactions push now became so out of control that bundles for a turtle cost $20 each, and even in the kill cam there is a button now to obtain the bundle you're looking at. Call of Duty is an annual releasing game that is full priced. Yes, you do not have to buy it, but the presentation of corporate greed combined with patterns to pursue people to buy is for me a scandal on its own. A point that I want to make in this respect is the influence of social, I would say ideological movements in the corporate space. and more specific entertainment in general. It's undeniable that the hiring across the board is not with a focus on skill and talent first, irrespective of how people look, how they live, what they believe, and what sex they believe to have. Nobody cares. We want to see good games. There is a reason why people play games or watch movies, and that is to escape reality and have a joyful experience, not to be educated or slapped in the face with all kinds of messaging and signaling. People just want to have fun, that's it. They do not want to be slapped in the face with all that shit. Besides this, how can you justify being part of a certain social group and work for a company that is busy exploiting the very edges of corporate capitalism and greed? Just make good games that reflect the player base's needs. What's wrong with that? The net result now is that COD has been bogged down to an annual repetitive exercise mainly focused around cash grab microtransactions that is slapped in your face constantly. Streamers are openly quitting the game, player counts are tanking, the overall sentiment is on an all-time low, and the most dedicated and independent content creators are frustrated. Heck, even someone like Nero Cinema, as the most independent creator of COD content, is really fed up. So how is skill-based matchmaking working out for you, Activision? There is a fix. There is. It's unlikely, but the fix is... it's easy, I guess. Just stop pre-ordering and do not buy the game. I guarantee you that within 6 months of the new COD, skill-based matchmaking is removed, lobbies stay together, and the oil tanker will be able to turn quickly all of a sudden. But considering the fact that it has been proven that some streamers earn up to 400k from Activision just to play the game and promote it, we are dealing with a nasty corporate and well-funded virus. This means that the gameplay you experience is and will be bogged down to a mediocre, repetitive process. You constantly play against the same people, the same level, and therefore you are not gaining anything and every match feels the same. In Rainbow Six, when going through gold lobbies, you already play against plats and sometimes emeralds. That skill gap forces me to adjust and learn. If the skill-based matchmaking in COD will be transferred to R6, it will mean I'm playing gold people in gold lobbies only, I guess, and every match is just a rehearsal of the previous one. And that is why COD next year will be a full rehearsal of this year Call of Duty. Enjoy. 2025 is going to be pivotal for Call of Duty as a franchise. Not only seeing the internal backlash at an all-time high with player counts dropping and streamers leaving, we have unique circumstances looming on the horizon. We have a Battlefield launching, the new Battlefield, highly anticipated. Will it go back to the roots of Battlefield 3 and 4? We hope and we think so. GTA, when GTA launches, Call of Duty is in trouble, and we have GTA 6 launching. One of the most anticipated games, maybe of all time, right? Doesn't stop there. Rainbow Six Siege X is going to biggest overhaul after 10 years of successful Siege. So this means that we don't only have 3 external threats, we also have that internal growing threat in their own community with their own franchise. So 2025 is going to be absolutely vital for Call of Duty. I'm curious, guys, is Call of Duty gonna make it this year? Let me know in the comments. See you soon.